Good morning from the Mat of Spain. I'm up early today, 6 o'clock here in Spain, but I thought, I'll do a live chat because I've got a load of stuff we've done over the weekend. I'm still uploading, but um, I thought I'd do a couple of live chats because I ain't done any for a couple of days. Um, but what do you get out of moving to the Philippines as an expat? It's, it's one of those questions that come up because it's more to do with um, things that are about an individual rather than as a group. Wes is there? Good evening, Matt. How's it going? Yeah, you're up late, or I'm up early. Well, I know I'm up early, but I just wanted to cover some of these, just a few topics. The first thing I would say, relationships. Um, a lot of people have had Tim Rogers, Matt, you're not sleepy. I've just got up. It's 6 o'clock in the morning here. I just got up, have a cup of coffee. Um, but relationship-wise, I think the Philippines offers opportunities that I've often, not because I mean, a lot of people say, oh, it's down to poverty and this sort of thing. It's not. I think there's a whole different realm of culture, relationship scenarios there, which attract Western men to the Philippines and other places. Yeah, let's say it's just after midnight East Coast in the USA. Okay. Well, late night listening then. Early morning for Tim. Tim's. I want to. You've been at work this weekend, Tim. You just got in. um, yeah, relationship wise, I think you get the broader sense of the traditional type marriage being available in many ways. Um, so I think from that you end up with having some of the traditional marriage mixed with a culture that is family orientated in the sense of it's in a broader sense, not just the mother, father, kids scenario. You know, grandparents still live at home, all that sort of stuff. Um, and it's sort of a combination of it all, which is often what people want. Oh, Tim's off to work now, mate. Okay, mate. Safe trip to work. Have a great day. If you can access us, I'll see you at work. TJ Riley, I'm Matt. Was just watching an old video of yours. Which video are you watching? Yeah, so you got the traditional mix of family life, but also with the right relationship, with the right person, you've also got that commitment relating to the husband-wife scenario where the wife supports the husband in many ways, which often leads to a stronger relationship, and it's often quite successful. It's not just the Philippines, though. I mean, you see it with relationships with Thai women, etc., where they have, because they have a strong foundation on the relationship. It's not the it's not bought into the problems that often come from the West, where it's often seen as what's mine is yours and what's yours is mine. Should be it, but it's often ends up as what's yours is mine and what's mine is mine, which is where a lot of the problems come from. A lot of that hasn't really happened in the Philippines yet. So, TJ Riley, what a Filipino makes a good wife. Okay. So there's a lot of support there where in many relationships in the West, that's sort of disappeared. It's the same when, even on hard times, you'll find a lot of Filipinos will stick with you because they've been through hard times, but it's ingrained to stay with the family and keep the family pulled together. And that's one of the strong foundations that you can have in the relationships, which can make it work really well. Which gets on to my next point, which is perspective. The Philippines, you get a broader perspective on life. I mean, I know from looking at the UK, spend time in the UK, dealing with people in social housing and whatever, their viewpoint is so narrow. It's often just about them. You know, they do not see beyond their own life. So they're not looking at, in the Philippines, poverty is right in your face. So you see that, you begin to understand it as well, but you can also see how corruption's interlinked. You can see how people can still be happy with so little. Um, and you can still see that you can push through on life. Your life's never that bad. You can push through and have a good life regardless of money. A lot of people say, oh well, it's nice to have the money. It is nice to have the money, but often in the West, the mortgage, the car loan, etc., takes precedence over everything else. But you find in the Philippines, day-to-day life takes precedence over everything else. And sometimes it's a bad thing, in the fact of things like medical insurance and things like that. And I think it's a good thing because they don't suffer with the same levels of stress in that way, because they're not worried about the bills at the end of the month, etc. I'm sure they are at some point, but I'm just saying it doesn't become the daily grind. And I think that's the important bit, is moving away from that. Because once you start getting a better perspective on things, you start having a happier life, but also you can adapt things to suit the East and West to get the best out of both. Um, which gets me to my third point, which is life changing. Many people I know have spent time in the Philippines and gone back to the West with a completely different perspective. They've gone back with things don't affect them as much. They, like fighting over parking spaces, maybe a normal one in the UK, but you just go, whatever. You don't get so irritable by these minor things. Um, the whole pace of life is slightly different. Your viewpoint is different, um, which is part of being the life changing. But also, if they get into a relationship before, they may not be too fussed on work. In the sense that they may do agency work, do bits of work here and there, still living at home or whatever, and they move from that to being committed to creating a relationship that allows them to either move to the Philippines or move their partner and possibly children to the West. So they get a whole change, life change on that, because they have gone from just being to having a focus on where they want to be in the future, which is life changing. Which I suppose is gets onto the next point, which ties in with that: financial wealth through stability. If you've got a good partner with you, it makes it so much easier to A, make money, but B, develop with it. Because what you find is, I mean, most of the Filipino women I know are not there to blow money. I know some of them do. I've seen the one day millionaires. I've seen the ones that float around with their fake Prada handbags and everything else, boasting what they have. But at the same time, I find the majority of women are very good with money. They get the most out of it. They don't overspend. They're always looking um, for the best of the family. With that sort of setup, it means, like, say you're going to the West and you want to get a house, get this, get that. It often happens, and it's much easier with somebody that's focused on that than somebody who's focused on themselves, which is often a Western woman problem. I say, well, that's unfair. I say a Western problem because guys do it just as much. It's just that often it's worse for the guys because it's often come out the guy's pocket as well as the woman's pocket, where normally the guy doesn't really get it the other way. But yeah, I find that the commitment from the women, it can be a lot stronger, which means being more focused on the development of the family, which includes buying a house, paying the house off, etc., etc. Now, I'll have to say, I don't buy into the house buying unless it's actually going to be of value to do so. Like, because I've got kids, it's a long-term investment because the kids will end up with a house eventually. So from that point of view, it is worth it. But if we're just going to stop here for a bit, I wouldn't even think about it, because even if we bought a place here in Spain and then move somewhere else, we're still going to have to rent it out, and then it becomes a bit of a burden. Although it can still make money, it still becomes a bit of a burden because you've got somebody else to monitor it that while you're away, your maintenance costs, your tax costs, etc., etc. So it can become a bit of a burden rather than something viable. Where investing the same money in Philippines may be more viable because we already have family there. And I suppose that gets onto the focus, because your focus is tied to the relationship. Because what you find is, because you're more focused on where you want to spend the money, where you're going to put the money, what you're going to do with the money, how you're going to make the relationship work, because there's no safety net. When you're out in the Philippines, unless you've got a pension, you're not relying on a safety net. This is why some people come unstuck when they're relying on things like Amazon income or AdSense income as their pure income, because as soon as something changes, it has a very detrimental effect, because suddenly you're manipulating Google or whatever, and then suddenly it goes down the toilet because Google decides to change its algorithm, and everything you've been doing suddenly falls flat on its face, and your income's gone. It really can happen that easy, and it has happened to a few people. What about investing in the Philippine stock market? I don't advise anybody in stocks. I'll just say that. I don't know enough about the stocks myself. I do my own investments, and I keep that to myself because it works for me, but I do spend a bit of time researching it. So I can't really say, is it a good thing to invest in? I think who's been investing? A friend, Robert Dayton, invests in the Philippine stock market. But I'm not even sure. I think he just plays with it. I'm not sure if he does it as an investment. I know one of my neighbors invests, but I'm not sure if he's on the Philippine side. I know I've got a friend who does day trading, and he's spent over a year analyzing it before he even did any investments. I think it's one of those things you have to really understand. I don't think it's good to just throw money at it. So that's why I was saying I don't advise people on investing. Not saying don't do it. I'm just saying it's one of those things you need to understand fully, because of the risks involved. Tay Elsa, the things I can afford in Philippines, I can't do in the UK, US. Here I can go scuba diving every week. Yeah, that's the funny thing here where I'm in Spain. I want to go scuba diving, I could literally just walk into the sea here. Like, just go out my front door with full gear on and just walk in. People do it all the time. I see people going here with the harpoon guns fishing. Um, yeah, you can do that in the UK, USA, but there is also an offset on that, because although you can go scuba diving every day, if you lived in, say, Kissimmee or something, in the US, you've got all the Disney stuff on your doorstep. So you've got like Indy 500 down the road and all that sort of stuff. There's an offset. It all depends what you're doing. Van Turner. Yeah, I've got an underwater camera here, actually. Yeah, because I've got the GoPro. I've got GoPro lights. I've got it's actually set up to go underwater. So yeah, I could do that. I don't go scuba here at the moment. I just go snorkeling on the coast. But I know Brian was talking about scuba diving because that's what he likes to do. So yeah, could happen in the future. I suppose the next thing is time, because often in the West we're rushing to do things, where in the Philippines time is in the broader sense, because quite simply the weather changes something. So where in the UK, for example, the weather doesn't stop you going to work. You're still expected there at the same time every day. In the Philippines, you can have bad weather and it could add another week to the actual journey. I've had that with, who was that? There was somebody out doing some charity work, and they were going to a remote location. It was supposed to only be one day. was it? No, I think it was 4 hours, 4 hours away. And I think it took them a day and a half to come back because the weather had changed while they'd gone. So they'd all gone out there, and then they'd have heavy rain and things like crossing the river and everything become a major problem. That sort of thing puts a perspective on it. The reality is that because you can see the world as reality is, you have no control over some things, where in the West it can be a burden. Because obviously you will be at work. Like even people, if you're on the train and you say the train's late, they'll say, "Well, that's no excuse." Well, I'm not the train driver. The train driver leaves 15 minutes late or whatever. I've got no control over that. Does it really affect your working day? No, because you'll still just get on with the work. 50, and you probably spend 10 minutes saying to somebody, the train was late this morning, and they've argued with you about it as if you could do something about it. That time frame coming from the Philippines, you just like accepted. As long as the work's done, who cares? And I think that's one of the key elements is you move from being stuck with clock watchers in many senses of the West to the Philippines. It'll get done when it gets done. Because I mean, Spain's the same. I've had a few friends here trying to book trips back to the Philippines as well as other bits and pieces, and I'm just said, just wait until they're ready. Because at the end of the day, they dictate when this will happen. And like when I was having my paperwork done for the car, although it says 15 to 30 days, it took 2 months because they're on holiday for Christmas. That was it. And that's the police. They were just like, you'll get it when it arrives. That's it. And the thing is, even though it's not physically legal, they accept it. The police would accept that because it's them. They've actually stopped you getting the documents. And it's just like, okay. And I know the Philippines is the same. If you said, "Well, I can't get it because this," they're just like, "Okay." The only place that doesn't put up with that is immigration because they're like doing your fines. So if you're a day over, because I got caught out because there was a day I was in at the end. I was due in 1 month, and it was like a day into the next month, so I got fined for the 2 months. You pay an extra 1,000 pesos per month. Um, Yeah, it was a bank holiday. I couldn't actually get in to do it, but they're just like, "Oh, well." But I think that's the world over. I think any tax office love to be able to squeeze some extra money out of people. Yeah, as Wes says, you drive through snow sucks, but I still have to get to work on time. Exactly. In the Philippines, people go, "It's raining," they don't turn up, or they're late. It's normal, and that's why in the Philippines, when I do it, with the call center, that's why I put people on commission because it just works because you just go, well, I don't care. I just want the three sales, etc. And then everyone's happy. And I think that's the focus is you've got to move away from, well, I'm paying from 8 till 5 to finding something that actually works. Because a lot of people are committed to work, but at the same time, they still have issues relating around the family life and everything else. I know a friend of mine had an issue with a software programmer because he was all right when he's in the office, but when he was at home, because he was at home, he would get hassled by the family to do stuff around the house or go and pick up your uncle or so although he was supposed to be working, he was getting hassled to do other stuff. The only way he beat that is to actually set a time frame and do it on projects so that he has a physical project he has to finish by a certain time, because then he can work when it suits him rather than trying to do it on the clock, because on the clock doesn't work. Yeah, I think that'd be the main ones I would say for somebody going to the Philippines. They would get out of the trip or living in the Philippines for a period of time or moving there. TJ Riley, can you comment on being in a relationship where a Filipino, where the husband doesn't work but the wife does? Is there any animosity? The reality is the amount of money that the wife makes is minimal. That's quite normal in the Philippines. There's a lot of guys that don't work. There's, it's quite common for the women to work. I've also seen it in the West, not because it was, well, I've seen it in the UK. Because the reason being is in the UK, the income is topped up by benefits. So it made no sense for both members of the family to work because financially they weren't any better off. It actually made more sense for the wife to work and the guy to stay at home. Bizarrely, but that's the UK system. Because they get the housing benefit and reduced council tax and all this sort of stuff to the point where it doesn't pay for both people to be working. If you're both say on manual skills or something, I can understand that, because if you're both on minimum wage or whatever, it it may not pay to actually both work because childcare is expensive. So yeah, but I mean, in the Philippines, um, it's quite common as well, I suppose, because a lot of the guys are on their pensions. So a lot of guys put their wives through college, or the woman's kept her job up or whatever. That's quite normal as well. So I don't see it being a problem. It is very common. It's one of those things that doesn't really affect too many people in a negative way, because a lot of people do it. Any other questions? I'll cut that one off short today. All right, guys. Thanks for watching, and have a great weekend. Oh, another quick question. Wes, did you check out the drop shipping? It's on my list. I've actually got some training videos I've downloaded to look at. I've been really busy lately, in all honesty, because I've been meeting Brian's back here in Lamata, so I met up with him this week. Met up with a real estate agent. Done a run around for the health insurance this week, and I've got my website I'm still finishing, which is being a bit of a pig at the minute because of the way they've set up the software. There's a template system I'm using which doesn't really fit in with the software that it's built, because I've got it's built on WordPress, but there's a template that goes on top of it inside WooCommerce. So I've got these layers in there, and at the moment they're not talking properly, and I don't want to rebuild it all. So that's being a bit of a pig at the minute, because I just need to get that finished, because once that's done, that's it for the next 5 years. Just update it. But yeah, those are the things that are tying me up at the minute. Also, my wife's doing a training course as well, so she's busy next week, because she's got a college course to do. So yeah, it's all busy here. I mean, I'm just hoping I'll get a bit of time this week. Well, because it's obviously it's Sunday, so from Monday I'll have a bit more time to do anything. The Raspberry Pi is fine. I'm actually going to be starting to churn some videos on that. I've got a big box of tricks and projects for that, so I'm going to be churning some of that out. I've got 3 other videos to do with computer related stuff that I'm going to do this week as well. I've actually got a load of stuff that I've been researching and stuff in the background. So there'll be a load of stuff going on the how-to channel, because I haven't done much with that lately. But yeah, I like the Raspberry Pi. I think it's a good piece of kit. It's a good piece for a kit for learning with, and also it's good for kids because you can get them into automation and just switching LEDs on and off. Kids are fascinated with being able to do that with a computer. TJ Rowley, nice to hear from you. You too. Okay, I'm going to cut this off, guys. So have a great day.